And our last head word was just newer type of lesson. Okay, so let's start with our revision. Ready?
Yes, ready.
Okay, here we go. Tell me one very common way of forming adverbs from adjectives. Tell me one very common way of forming adverbs from adjectives, please. One very
One
common
very
way
common
of
way
forming
to
adverbs
form the adverb
from
to adject
adjectives is
from
by
adjectives
adding
is
the
by
letters
adding the
ly to
letters
the
ly to
adjectives.
the adjectives.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Bad, badly.
Bad, badly,
Quick, quickly.
quickly.
Very good. What's the past of fly? What's the past of fly? The
The
past of
past of
fly
fly
is
is
flew.
flew.
If you flew round the world in a straight line, would you finish in the same place as you had started? If you flew round the world in a straight line, would you finish in the same place as you had started? Yes.
Yes,
If I flew
if I
round the
flew
world
round the
in a
world
straight line,
in a straight
I'd
line,
finish in the
I
same
finish in the
place
same
as
way,
I had
same place
started.
I had started.
If a bird flew into your room, what did you do? If a bird flew into your room, what did you do? If a bird
If a
flew
bird
into
flew
my
into the
room,
room,
I'd
into my room,
probably
I'd probably
try to catch
get
it.
catch it.
Very good. Okay, which animal do we get wool from? Which animal do we get wool from? We get
We
wool
get
from a
wool
sheep.
from sheep, from
What
a
can we
sheep.
make from wool? What can we make from wool? We can make
We can make
pullovers,
pullovers,
hats, and
hats,
scarves
and scarves
from wool.
from wool.
Very good. Okay. How do we form the possessive case of singular nouns like girl, man, child, etc.? How do we form the possessive case of singular nouns like girl, man, child, etc.? We form the
We
possessive
form the
case
possessive
of
a,
singular nouns. One more.
possessive.
We form
Sorry,
the
we
possessive
form the
case.
possessive
Case.
hey,
Very good. Oh, one more. Possessive
hey,
case
case. Sorry, possessive
of
case
singular
of
nouns
singular
like
nouns
girl,
like girls,
man,
man,
child, etc.
child, etc.
by adding
by
an
an
apostrophe and the
apostrophe and
letter S.
the letter S.
Very good. Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. The girl's
The
coat,
girl's coat,
the old man's
the
hat,
old man's hat,
a child's book.
a child's book.
Very good. How do we form the possessive case of plural nouns that do not end in S, such as men, women, children, etc.? How do we form the possessive case of plural nouns that do not end in S, such as men, women, children, etc.? We form
We
the
found the
possessive case
possessive
of
case
plural
of
nouns
plural,
that do not
plural nouns that
end
do not
in
end
S,
with in
such
s,
as man,
such as
women,
men,
children,
women,
etc.,
children,
in the
etc.
same way
In the
by
same way,
adding an
by adding
apostrophe
an
and the letter
apostrophe
S.
and the letter s.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. The old man's
The
hat,
old man's hat,
children's books,
children's
women's
books,
clothes.
women's clothes.
Very good. How do we form the possessive case of plural noun which already ends in S? How do we form the possessive case of plural nouns that which already ends in S? We form
We
the possessive
form the
case
possessive
of
case
plural noun
of plural
which
noun
already
which
ends in
already
S
ends in s,
just by adding
just
an
by adding
apostrophe
an
but
apostrophe
no S.
but not s.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. The girl's coat,
The girl's coat,
the worker's
the
clothes,
worker's clothes,
the lady's
the
dresses.
lady's dresses.
Very good. What do footballer shirts have written on their back? What do footballer shirts have written on their backs? Footballer shirts
Footballer shirts
have numbers
have
written
numbers
on their
written
backs.
on the backs.
Very good. What is he doing? What is he doing? He's kicking
He
the
is
football.
kicking the football.
Very good. Okay, next. Can the English coast be seen from the coast of France? Can the English coast be seen from the coast of France? Yes,
Yes,
on certain
that
days.
from
What?
sorry,
Yes, on certain days.
on certain days,
The English coast
English coast
can be seen
can be
from the
seen
coast of
from the coast
France.
of France.
Very good. Okay. Do you ever tire of speaking? Do you ever tire of speaking? Yes or no?
Yes,
I
I
sometimes
sometimes
tire of
tired
speaking.
of speaking.
Very good. Okay. Next. What would you do if you saw someone taking something out from a shop without paying? What would you do if you saw someone taking something from a shop without paying? If I saw
If I
someone
saw someone
taking
taking
something from a
something
shop
from a shop
without paying,
without paying,
I'd.
I'd call the manager.
Very good. What do people normally do in situations like that? What do people normally do in situations like that? People normally
People
do
normally
nothing
do
in
nothing in the
situations like that.
situation like that.
Do police officers often find themselves in dangerous situations? Do police officers often find themselves in dangerous situations? Yes,
Yes,
police officers
police officers
often find
often
themselves
find
in
themselves
dangerous
in dangerous
situations.
situations.
Very good. What do you suppose happen if there were suddenly no water in the world? What do you suppose happen if there were suddenly no water in the world? I
I
suppose we'd
suppose
all die
we
of thirst.
we all die
Of
of thirst
thirst if there were
first if there
suddenly
were
no
suddenly no
water
water
in the
in
world.
the world.
If you only slept 2 hours tonight, how do you suppose you'd feel tomorrow morning? If you only slept 2 hours tonight, how do you suppose you'd feel tomorrow morning? If I
If
only
I
slept
only slept
two
2 hours
hours tonight, I
tonight,
suppose
I
I'd
suppose
feel
I
very
feel
tired
very
tomorrow
tired
morning.
tomorrow morning.
Right? Supposing today were Sunday, where'd you be now? Supposing today were Sunday, where'd you be now? Supposing today were
Supposing
Sunday,
today were
I'd
Sunday,
be
I'd be at home
now.
now.
Supposing you lost your passport, what would you do? Supposing you lost your passport, what would you do? Supposing I
Supposing
lost my
I lost
passport,
my
I'd
passport,
immediately
I'd
tell the
immediately
police.
tell the police.
Very good. Does it get hotter and hotter as we go towards the north of Europe? Does it get hotter and hotter as we go towards the north of Europe? No, it
No, it
doesn't get
doesn't get
hotter
hotter and
as
hotter
we go
as we
towards
go
the north
towards
of
the
Europe.
north of Europe.
It gets
It
colder
gets
and colder.
colder and colder.
Do people usually become richer and richer as they become older? Do people usually become richer and richer as they become older? Yes,
Yes,
people usually
people
become
usually become
richer and
richer
richer
and
as they
richer
become
as
older.
if they
As they
as
become.
they become older
Why? Why? Because they
because
usually
they
earn
usually
more and
earn
more
more
money.
and more money.
Right? Does good wine usually become cheaper and cheaper as it becomes older? Does good wine usually become cheaper and cheaper as it becomes older? No, good
No,
wine
the good
doesn't
wine
usually
doesn't
become
usually
cheaper
become
and
cheaper
cheaper
and
as
cheaper
it
as
becomes
it
older.
becomes
It
older.
usually
It
becomes
usually
more and
becomes
more
more and
expensive.
more and more expensive.
Right? How long does it take you to get ready to go out in the morning? How long does it take you to get ready to go out in the morning? It takes
It
me
takes
about
up takes me about 1 hour
to get ready
to make
to go
ready
out in the
to
morning.
go out in the morning.
When do you think you'd be ready to take the exam at the end of this book? When do you think you'll be ready to take the exam at the end of this book? I think
I
I'll be
think
ready
I'll
to
be
take
ready
the
to take the
exam
exam
at the end of
at
this
the
book
end of this
in
book
about
in about a
uh,
month's
1 month's
time.
time. Eric, a month's time. Very good. Are you
Month's time.
always ready to lend people money? Oh, are you always ready to lend people money? Yes or no?
No, I
I'm
don't
not. I'm not
always.
always
I'm
ready
not always
to
ready
lend people
to
money.
lend people money.
Yeah, me either. Do you think most people are ready for marriage when they are 18 years old? Do you think most people are ready for marriage when they are 18 years old? Yes or no?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
most people
most
are
people
ready
are
for
ready
marriage
for
when
marriage
they are
when they
18
are
years
18
old.
years old.
Right, if the government of your country decided to build a national sports stadium, whereabout do you think it should be? If the government of your country decided to build a new national sports stadium, whereabouts do you think it should be? If the government
If
of
the
my
government
country
of my country
decided to build
decided to
a
build
new
a new
national sports
national
stadium,
sports
I
stadium,
think it
I
should be
think it
in.
should be in Tokyo.
Very good. Describe someone you know. Describe someone you know, please. I'll describe
I describe
my.
my friend.
Uh-huh. She.
She's small
Uh-huh.
and kind,
And
and she had black hair.
and beautiful. Very good.
And
Okay. Describe the place where you live. Describe the place where you live, please. The place where
the
I
place
live
where I live
is.
is near Tokyo.
Mhm.
There are a lot of trees and
Trees.
parks.
Wow, very nice place. Very good. So, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm
I'm
describing the
describing
place where
the
I
place
live.
where I live.
Do you think it's a good enough description? Do you think it's a good enough description? Yes or no?
No, I
I
don't
don't think
think
it's a good
it's
enough
a good enough
description.
description.
Very good, because it's just a brief description. Very good. Okay, so that's the end of our revision. Let's have new word.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, let's have the first set. Repeat. Correct.
Correct.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word correct is an adjective. It means having no mistakes. Correct also means right. For example, 2 plus 2 equals 4. It's right. Or we can say it's correct. Incorrect is the opposite of correct. Incorrect also means wrong. For example, 4 plus 5 equals 11. It's wrong. It's incorrect. Okay, let's practice. Is it correct to say the book was writing by him? Is it correct to say the book was writing by him? No,
No,
it
it
isn't
isn't
correct to
correct
say the
to
book
say
was
the book
writing by
was
him.
written by
We
him.
must say the
We
book
must say
was
the book
written
was
by
written
him.
by him.
Is it correct that 4 plus 5 equals 11? Is it correct that 4 plus 5 equals 11? No, it
No, it
isn't
isn't
correct that
correct
4 plus
that
5
4 plus 5
equals 11.
equals
It's
11.
incorrect.
It's incorrect.
Very good. Next, repeat. As soon as.
As soon as.
Over.
Over.
Very good. Listen. As soon as is a conjunction. As soon as means immediately after something happens without delay. For example, I sat down as soon as I came into the classroom. Over is an adjective. Over also means finished. For example, our lesson starts at 9:30 in the morning and finishes at 9:55. So at 9:55 the lesson is over. Okay, so let's practice. What did you do as soon as you came into the classroom? What did you do as soon as you came into the classroom? I sat
I
down
sat
as soon
down
as
as
I
soon as
came
I
into
came
the
into the
classroom.
classroom.
What will you do as soon as the lesson is over? What will you do as soon as the lesson is over? I'll
I stand up
go as soon as the lesson is
as soon
over.
as the lesson is over.
Very good. When you lend something, like money, for example, do you prefer the other person to give it back on a certain date or just as soon as possible? When you lend something, like money, for example, do you prefer the other person to give it back on a certain date or just as soon as possible? When I lend
When I
something,
learn
like
something
money, for
I like
example,
money, for
I
example, I
prefer the other
prefer the
person
other
to give it
person to
back
give it back
on
just
as soon as possible.
as soon as possible.
Very good. Next, repeat strange.
Strange,
One more. Strange.
strange,
Very good. Okay, listen. The word strange is an adjective. Strange means unusual or surprising, especially in a way that is difficult to explain or understand. For example, my friend wears thick clothes in summer. I think she's strange. Let's practice. Who's the strangest person you know? Who's the strangest person you know? The strangest
The
person
strangest
I know
person I know
is.
is my college teacher.
Oh, very good. Okay, next repeat they.
They,
He or she.
he or she.
Very good. Okay, so we sometimes use the word they, them, their, like plural pronouns, to talk about just one person if we don't know if the person we're talking about is a man or a woman. Okay, for example, there is somebody in the next room, so we can't see them, and they are making a lot of noise. I'm going to ask them to be quieter because we don't know if they're man or woman, so we use they. Okay, let's practice. When do we use the words they, them, etc. to talk about just one person? When do we use the words they, them, etc. to talk about just one person? We use the
We use
words
the
they,
words they,
them, etc.
them,
to
etc.
talk about
to
just
talk
one
about
person
this as one person
when we don't
when
know
we don't
if the
know
person
if the
is a
person
man or
is a
woman.
man or a woman.
Megan, if someone lost their passport, what advice would you give them? If someone lost their passport, what advice would you give them? If someone
If
lost
someone
their
lost
passport,
their passport,
I tell them
I
that
tell
they
them
should
that they
immediately
should
go to the
immediately go
police.
to the police.
Very good. Next, repeat. Shut.
Shut,
Shut up.
shut up,
Be quiet.
be quiet.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word shut is a verb. It means to close. For example, I close the book after I read it. or I shut the book after I read it. The verb to shut up means the same as to be quiet, but we use the word to shut up when we are angry. Okay? To be quiet is much more polite. Let's practice. What verb can we use instead of the verb to close? What verb can we use instead of the verb to close? We can use
You can
the
use
verb
shut,
to shut
the word shut,
instead of
instead
the verb
of
to
the
close.
word to close.
Very good. If some friends were talking loudly while you were trying to study, what would you say? If some friends were talking loudly while you were trying to study, what could you say? If some friends
If
were
some friends
talking
were
loudly
talking
while
loudly
I was
while
trying
I
to
was
study,
trying to
I'd
study,
say, could
I
you be
say,
quiet,
could
please?
you be quiet, please?
Very good. And if they carried on talking loudly even after that, what might you then say? And if they carried on talking loudly even after that, what might you then say? If they carried
If
on
they
talking
carried on talking
loudly even
loudly,
after that,
even after
I might
that,
then
I
say,
might
shut
then
up.
say, shut up,
Very good. Next, repeat, choose.
choose.
Very good. Okay, listen. Choose is a verb. To choose means to decide which one of the number of things or people you want to choose. For example, I always choose my clothes myself. If I had to choose between having 10,000 pounds now or 40,000 pounds in 10 years' time, I choose to have 10,000 pounds now because I need money for my studies now. Okay, let's practice. Do you always choose your clothes yourself, or does someone else ever help you to choose them? Do you always choose your clothes yourself, or does someone else ever help you to choose them? I always choose
I always choose
my
my
clothes
clothes
myself.
myself.
If you had to choose between having 10,000 pounds now or 40,000 pounds in 10 years' time, which would you choose? If you had to choose between having 10,000 pounds now or 40,000 pounds in 10 years' time, which would you choose? If I had
If
to
I
choose
had to
between
had to choose
having,
between having,
one more,
uh,
if I had
if
to
I
choose
had to choose
between having
between
10,000 pounds now,
having
between having
ten
10,000 pounds now
thousand pounds out
or
or
40,000
forty
pounds
thousand
in 10
pounds
years'
in the
time,
10 years
I
time,
choose to
I
have
choose to have 10,000 pounds
pounds
now.
now. Very good. One more. If I had to
If I
choose
had to choose
between having
between having
10,000
ten
pounds
thousand
now
pounds now
or
or
40,000
forty
pounds
thousand
in 10
pounds
years'
in
time,
10 years
I
time,
choose to have
I choose to have
10,000
ten
pounds
thousand
now.
pounds now
Why? Why? Because
because I need money immediately.
very good. Okay, next repeat recognize.
Recognize.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word recognize is a verb. It means to know and remember someone or something. For example, I think I'd be able to recognize you if we meet each other again in 10 years' time. Let's practice. Do you think you'd be able to recognize me if we met each other again in 30 years' time? Do you think you'd be able
Uh,
to recognize me if we met each other again in 30 years' time? Yes or no?
no,
I don't
I
think
don't
I'd be
think
able
I'm
to
able
recognize
to
you
recognize
if we
you
met
if
each
we
other
meet each
again
other
in
again
30 years'
in
time.
30 years time.
Oh, I'll be like 74 then. Okay, next. Would you say you were good at recognizing people after not having seen them for several years? Would you say you were good at recognizing people after not having seen them for several years? Yes or no?
No,
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
say
gonna say
that
I'm
I was
that
good
I
at
was good at
recognizing people
recognizing people
after not having
after
seen
not
them
having seen
for
them
several
for
years.
several years.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Rather.
Rather,
Very good. Okay, let me open this. Okay, here we go. The word rather is an adverb. It means quite or more than a little, but less than very. For example, I'd say you spoke English quite well now, or I'd say you spoke English rather well now. Let's practice. Would you say you spoke English rather well now? Would you say you spoke English rather well now? Yes, I'd
yes,
say I spoke
I say
English
I spoke English
rather well now.
rather well now.
Very good. Okay, so now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Very good. So our reading is at stage 5, paragraph page 342.
42.
And the last headword was gate. Okay, start with headword
Okay.
worry, be worried.
Okay.